It's part of a bigger negotiation. It's something that we expected in the broader sense that would be part of a final deal. We're making progress towards a final deal. There's more to be done, to be clear. As I just said, it's a question of timing in terms of the date for the final negotiations and when the tax was coming into effect. And, it doesn't make sense to collect tax from people and then remit them back. So it provides some certainty. And as I just said, negotiations have restarted. We're going to focus on getting the best deal for Canadians. We're making progress.
Okay, that's all well and good, and that's kind of what you expected as an answer from Mark Carney. After the government yesterday, late night, 10 o'clock last night is when the news broke that Canada would be rescinding that digital sales tax. James Mennie's over at the Montreal Gazette. Jim, did we cave, as has been suggested? I will tell you, one texter just wrote this. Mark Carney played Trump's game. He threatened the digital sales tax to open negotiations. It worked. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it did. I mean, listen, even before this happened, there were signals coming out of the Carney government that this was a very expendable tax. It's a dumb tax. And not surprisingly, it's a dumb tax that was created by the Trudeau government as a cash grab. And this is when the Trudeau government was going kind of like, bat poop crazy over the idea of shaking down the web giants. I would respectfully submit, Aaron, that up until the end of last week, most Canadians didn't even know there was a digital sales tax. But now there won't be one. And as the Prime Minister said, the bottom line here is getting a deal. And the bottom line here is getting a deal with, and this is what I'm saying, is getting a deal with a demonstrable lunatic like Donald Trump. Now, it's kind of interesting. There's a nuance that I think has to be brought here. If you want to make this into sort of a how can I put this, Pierre Poilievre level debate based on slogans like elbows up, based on absolutely fake, election campaign ads with Mark Carney and Mike Myers behind a fake penalty box talking about Canada and hockey. This is just terrible. But in the end, this is a bigger picture. The idea is to get a deal, and even if we do get a deal, there's no guarantee that Donald Trump, whose word is as worthless as that of his country, will actually respect the details of that deal. But that's where we are. But the bottom line here is that we are slowly but surely, we hope, working towards an agreement in kind with the United States of America. And one would hope that we can get it. But also, this whole idea of, please don't think the Americans or the Trumps are reveling in this. Right now, Donald Trump is honestly, his entire system is being turned into stomach acid because he is terrified that his big, beautiful bill, his wealth transfer of American money to billionaires, will not go through, or won't go through by July 4th, which is the deadline he's imposed. That is his four square. That is number one priority. But the bottom line on all this, Aaron, I got to tell you, is our priority is to get a deal. The Prime Minister has made it clear that's the priority. If the likes of Donald Trump's press secretary, and those words really speak for themselves, wants to say that Canada caved, go ahead, knock yourself out. But the fact is, we need that deal, and we need to have a certain amount of certainty. What I find fascinating, though, is, and I'm sure you're aware of this, is when you look at all the various drivel that's coming out of the White House. As far as I can tell, the Canadian stock market is doing very, very well. I mean, I know we don't like uncertainty, but it seems that things are quite robust, very robust. In fact, the financial sector had a very, very good day today. So we'll see how that's going to play out as well. But I'm not getting the impression right now that Donald Trump has this country by the throat. And in fact, I have to correct myself. Apart from the big, beautiful bill, I don't know if you noticed that this afternoon, the other thing that is front and center in Donald Trump's psyche is the fact that Elon Musk is now referring to his Republican Party as the Porky Pig Party.
Look, I will point out to what you said about markets. You're right. I mean, first of all, we mentioned this on Friday. Every American market, and I'm not sure that the Dow is quite there yet, has now basically made all-time highs since this all went down at the beginning of January into February. Canadian market, I think, is up a little over 8%. It's really quite remarkable when you consider that the big fear at the time was we're all going into the toilet. We're going to head into a depression, recession, whatever else. My worry here, Jim, and I'm obviously not an economist, I'm just looking at numbers that people have talked about. GDP was down last month, and if these tariffs start to really hit, I don't understand how the Canadian economy can withstand this. For all the deals you want to make between provinces, that's fine. These things don't happen in a day or a week, right? They take months. Yep. Doing a deal with Europe or Asia may take, years to get done. We're going to get hit in the meantime, and it's going to hurt. I just don't understand why the euphoria over markets is sort of right now anyway, the dominant thing we're looking at.
Well, we're kind of trained. I think after a decade of being hypnotized by the internet era, and we're trained for the quick and dirty, for the immediate gratification. Yeah. And you're 1,000% right. These things take time. And let me tell you, folks, if you want to play with slogans, that's what elbows up means. It means it's going to be a grinding game. It's not going to be a short game. And you do have to be ready to eat some of the costs of this. If you're ready to do that, then fine. There's no problem, because I would like to think that Canadians are infinitely more, how can I put it, their character is infinitely better equipped to put up with this than that of Americans. Americans want it now, and they want it cheap, and ideally tax-free. We'll see what happens, of course. But, this is far from over, and as long as Donald Trump is in power, and indeed, as long as anyone of that ilk is in power, and America really establishes itself as a world-class cheat, we're going to have to put up with this for any number of administrations. But in the meantime, that's the reality. In the meantime, you got to look at the bottom line, not the quick and dirty, not the idea that, he caved. The idea is, do we have a deal? Are we going to have a deal by the middle of this month? If that happens, then guess what? All bets are off, until, of course, Donald Trump says something else. Yeah. But that's the reality of living in this world right here and right now.
Again, the question I asked, we had Colton Prale on, and again, not knowing a lot about this, I'm trying to understand. He made a deal with the UK so quickly, and I'm not comparing what we do compared to what the UK does with the US. Obviously, we do a lot more business. But I don't understand, easy thing to say, why it is taking us this long to kind of work out a deal with our neighbor. Like, what are all the issues here? We know it's already in play. We have a U.S., we have the CUSMA agreement. If there's something you don't like, let's work it out. We still don't have any kind of a detailed plan as to what's finally going to happen come July 21st.
Well, I mean, you can look at it that way, or, as a neighbor, or you can look at it as a competitor. And I think that's the way the Trump administration is looking at it. And I think that's the way we're going to have to start looking at the Americans if we haven't already begun to do so. And the other thing is, don't kid yourself. What we refer to here in this country as supply management for dairy and other commodities is referred to in the States, and indeed other jurisdictions, Aaron, as price-fixing cartels. And you know what? I know that we've dropped armor around that. It's absolutely untouchable. But please don't think this is not going to be a bone of contention. If not with Trump, then with somebody else.
So to that point, Jim, again, we're not going to mess with supply management here. A government can't really afford to do that. But you think there will be changes? Maybe down the road we'll see. Well, and honestly, it used to be you can say there's A, B, and C, so theoretically D and E might happen. With Trump, all that's out the window. Yeah, fair enough.
With Trump, you and I, honestly, it's Canada Day is tomorrow. By the end of the week, you and I might be talking about something entirely different that we didn't even see coming, because Donald Trump had a brainstorm, so to speak, while he's sitting on his golden toilet at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, or as you said, because he's trying to get this bill passed and it's being held up in a lot of different ways. It's not going through as quickly as he thought it would. All right, let me move on from that to a little bit of what's going on here. We now know what the date of that by-election is going to be in Alberta, so Pierre Poilievre can try to get into the House. What do you think?
August 18th. Listen, it's been very, very bizarre, Aaron. I mean, let's face it. I realize that we can, perhaps the Carney government is saying, well, we're going to be very, gentlemanly and very courteous. And the fact is, Pierre Poilievre should have been out of Stornoway months ago. And now he's there, and he doesn't hold a seat in Parliament. He's the head of the Conservative Party. This will certainly clear the air if he wins. And you know what? Nothing's certain anymore. But if he wins, it'll clear the air. But on the other, I think there's a very cynical group of people in this country who will turn around and say that Pierre Poilievre is the best thing that ever happened to Mark Carney. So that's exactly where they want Pierre Poilievre is back in the House, back spouting slogans, back really recycling the same program, the same platform he's been talking about for the past decade. and at that comfortable, comfort food kind of status quo, political status quo, courtesy of Pierre Poilievre, will be reinstated. So, but the good news is we'll have this figured out by the fall, because I have a sinking suspicion that even if we do get he said, making air quotes, a deal with Donald Trump, that's not the end of the story. In fact, I think we'll be talking about this story for months to come.
One last thing, Jim, I got to get out of here. I just had this crazy thought today. Now that we know when that by-election is going to be, can you imagine if Pierre Poilievre was to lose in that riding?
Well, all I know is I would be, I'll tell my friends to call 911 because Urgence Santé might have to come to reattach my butt after I laughed it off.
Yeah. Thank you, Jim. We'll leave it at that. James Mennie at the...
À la prochaine.